Yesenia. Welcome back to my channel. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I have been filming in all different areas of my apartment because I'm trying to find the best spot to film in. So a few of my videos, I actually had my camera over here before I got my fancy tripod. And now since I have my fancy tripod, I am now filming on the other side because I noticed this way it's getting a lot more natural light and I think you guys can see me better. Plus it's a better background because then you don't see my ugly fridge and my ugly kitchen and the state that my ugly kitchen is in. And I deeply apologize if you can hear that outside. I think it's trash day. I have several of my windows open because apparently, and I say apparently very loosely because it's Chicago, we get all 4 seasons in one day. Let's be real. It's gonna get really nice this week, and today's actually a little hot, and I live on the 3rd floor, so heat rises. I just have some windows open to get some, you know, some air flowing in here because I am not ready to put my AC unit in. Once I put my AC unit in, my electric bill is going to skyrocket, and it's not that bad. In all honesty, it's not that bad, but the longer I can hold off with my electric bill, the better. Or putting in the AC unit, the better for my electric bill because it will shoot up about 30 to 40 bucks. So with that being said, welcome to my May TBR. I am actually very excited for this month. I have decided to reread some of my old favorites this month and annotate them. So you guys don't know this. I have never, ever, even when I was in college, well, let me scratch that because I did have to annotate in college. I have never ever annotated one of my books, one of my personal books, ever. Never even thought to annotate them. And I've been watching some annotating videos and I kind of wish I had now. So, because it would be nice to reread. So one book, and I'm going to talk a lot about this book, one book I have not read since high school. It's going to be about 15 years. Yes, it's going to be about 15 years since the last time I read this particular book, and it would have been a wonderful experience for me to read what 15-year-old Yesenia thought compared to almost 30-year-old Yesenia now. So I'm kind of sad that I did miss out on that experience. However, it's never too late to start something. Like, you know what people say, like, oh, it's never too late to go back to school. It's never too late to start annotating. So that's what I'm gonna do. I have decided, and some other booktubers do this as well, and then there's one exception on this list. I have decided that I will only annotate books that I reread. Some booktubers said that they only annotate books that they reread because, you know, the first time that you're reading a book, you really want to read the book and absorb the information and then get a feel for the world and the characters. And it's really hard to do that if you're constantly interrupting your reading flow to put a sticky note or underline something or write something in and scribble something. So there is one book on here that I am going to annotate that will be an exception to this rule because this is the 3rd book in a series and I already have a feeling for the world and the characters, and you guys will definitely see that on here. I am being very ambitious this month and I'm going to try to read 13 books this month. Now, 3 of them are audiobooks. So that should help. One book isn't even here yet. I will talk about that when I get there. I'm just gonna jump right into it. Let's just jump right into it. Let's get started. I want to let you guys know what is on my May TBR because they're all appearing now, and I am very excited since I'm gonna be rereading about 5 to 6 books in my May TBR throughout the month of May. Okay, guys. So the first book, I'm just gonna talk about this, get this out of the way because it's the first book on my list. This is the book that I have not read since I was 15 years old, and it is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This is, I think I have 3 copies of this book. So for those of you guys, I already revealed my age. Harry Potter came out in the United States in 1998. And that was actually when I got my very first copy. I clearly remember that day. I was in 3rd grade, I was 8 years old, and my dad walked into the house with this new book that had just appeared on the shelves, and he said, "Hey, Mija, I bought this for you thinking that you might, enjoy reading it." And that was where it all started. Oh my goodness, I actually still have the copy that my dad got me when I was 8 years old. Yes, it is falling apart. I don't know where the dust jacket went. I completely lost it because when I read hardcovers and they come with the dust jacket, I always take the dust jacket off. They actually changed it. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, guys, so like I said, I still have my copy, my very, very first copy of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone from 1998. There's no way in hell I can ever part with this copy. I am never parting with it, and it has changed. So this is the newer copy. I had to get a newer copy because you will definitely see my 1998 copy is completely falling apart. I'm still surprised that the binding is holding up. This is a 20-year-old book. 22-year-old book. It's 2020. Look at the book. They definitely changed it. Watch. So this is what the newer books, what it looks like underneath the dust jacket. This is my 1998 copy. This is what, I don't know where the dust jacket went for this one. So look at the difference. Look at the difference in colors. And then here, look, see, it's still the same book. Look at how much things have changed but didn't change. So this is my 1998 copy. Maybe this should be my thumbnail for this. It's seen, oh my God, look at the binding right here. It's practically falling apart, which is why I got another copy, because I don't want to get rid of this. This is my baby. I will never ever get rid of this. So that's why I got another copy of this. Oh yes, this is one of the books that's on my May TBR, and this book, of course, I will be annotating. This is definitely going to be an adventure. I will definitely put sticky notes in here. I'm still thinking about writing in my books. I'm not sure if I want to write in them quite yet. Who knows? But yes, I'm so excited for my Harry Potter reread, and I'm just really excited. Everybody has been rereading Harry Potter, and I figured since I have not read the books in about 15 years, I think it's time for a reread, and it'll definitely be interesting to see what my thoughts are as a 30-year-old adult now. It's just like I said in my Hunger Games reading vlog. I think that video will go up after this one, but it's very interesting to read like books like this, like Harry Potter and the Hunger Games, as a younger teenager, or I first read the Hunger Games in my early 20s, compared to as, you know, an older adult who has much more experience and, you know, experienced a lot more, and then maybe I can probably relate to certain parts more or understand certain parts better than the first time I read this. But yeah, so for those of you who don't know, and most of you guys don't know this, but the reason why I haven't read Harry Potter in 15 years is because I have read the Harry Potter series. I stopped counting. Listen carefully. I stopped counting at 120. So I have read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone well over 120 times, believe it or not. However, I've been reading the series, this book, since 1998, so actually that makes sense. Choose to believe it if you want to or not. But yeah, it is true. I stopped counting at 120. And that's exactly why I had to get another copy. Several of my Harry Potter books, I have replaced almost every one of them except the Half-Blood Prince and the Deathly Hallows. They have been replaced at least 2 or 3 times. So the next book on my May TBR, so that's a reread that is going to be for me. And then I'll just talk about the audiobooks right now, because those 2 of them will be rereads for me and 1 of them will not be. I'll just put a picture up here. So the next book that I want to read in the month of May is going to be Catching Fire. So my Hunger Games reading vlog will probably come up after this, but I'm rereading the Hunger Games because, and this is also on my May TBR, the next Hunger Games book is going to be coming out next month. And I did pre-order it and I'm so excited for it to come in. And in order to prepare for the book, I have decided to reread it. So I am rereading Catching Fire. I have 1 hour left of the Hunger Games right now. I'm gonna get that done today. And I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far. My thoughts have definitely changed as an adult rereading that series, because the first time I did read it was when I was 22, and when I was 22 I definitely had a different mindset than I do now. So along with rereading Catching Fire, I will also be rereading Mockingjay. So those, I'm going to finish out the Hunger Games trilogy to prepare for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So if you want to hear more about the Hunger Games trilogy and my thoughts, please be on the lookout for my Hunger Games reading vlogs that will be coming up. I have decided to do a reading vlog for each book, so that way I don't put all 3 in one vlog and then the vlog ends up being an hour, because I do have a lot of thoughts now as a 30-year-old with understanding politics a lot better than I did when I was a 22-year-old, and getting all those thoughts on video, I just don't want it to end up being an hour. So Catching Fire and Mockingjay is going to be another book, or another 2 books that I want to reread this month. So the last audiobook that I would like to read this month is The Vanishing Stair, which is the 2nd book in the Truly Devious trilogy. I finished Truly Devious either this month or last month. I think I finished it in March. But I would like to continue on with that trilogy because I really am thoroughly enjoying the mystery thriller, and it's a very interesting book. I'm not really a mystery thriller kind of person, so for me to enjoy this kind of a book, it's surprising and it's really interesting. So when I finished Truly Devious, Scribd, and this is where I'm listening to these audiobooks on Scribd. Scribd was telling me that The Hand on the Wall is next, but The Hand on the Wall is the 3rd book in the series, which I thought was a little weird. I'm like, okay, whatever, but I knew The Vanishing Stair was next. I even Googled it to double check. So those are my 3 audiobooks that I would like to listen to this month for the month of May, and hopefully that will make going through 13 books a lot easier. I'm not joking. This is very ambitious, but May is a very long month. I think it has 31 days. Yes, it does, so it should be possible. Okay, the next book on my May TBR, which is another reread, and I'm so excited to read this book, is Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. But this book, I think I read it 2 years ago, maybe. I got this in an owl crate, and this is, I believe, a young adult contemporary about a girl named Eliza and how she has like an online forum, or what is it called? A webcomic, that's what it's called. So she has an online webcomic, and she's an introvert like me, and she has anxiety like me as well. And I just thought that this book captured anxiety, and how what anxiety is and how people deal with it so well. I honestly found the main character of this story, Eliza, to be extremely relatable. As I was reading this book, I was thinking, oh my gosh, finally somebody who understands me. So I absolutely love this book, and I'm so excited to reread this book. It is a bit of a hefty book. I think it's like 500 pages. But there are like lots of pictures in here. Well, not lots of pictures, but there are pictures in here. Here, what's one picture? Like of stuff like this, and it's gold. I absolutely love this book, and I would definitely recommend this book to anybody who feels as though they are, who have anxiety or they feel anxious and they want to read a book and read about a character who share those same characteristics. I really, really love this book, and I highly recommend it. Can't wait to reread it. I will also be annotating this book. The next book on my May TBR will be another reread, and when I first read this book, I thought, what? And then as soon as I was done reading it, I was like, okay, that was a really good book. And so the last two books, Eliza and Her Monsters, and then this book that I'm showing are All Crate books. So this next one is A Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst? I don't know. So this book is about, I forgot the main characters' names. I cannot pronounce their names. But it definitely is about a princess who is set to marry a prince, and like their marriage is completely arranged and everything. And the prince has a sister. And I think the trope is called like haters to lovers or something like that. The sister absolutely did not like the princess at all whatsoever. And then throughout the story, you know, she has to train her, I think, in horseback riding or some other thing, something like that, which is another reason why I want to reread this book. And then they end up growing closer, and then things happen. So this was definitely a fun read. It was definitely an interesting read because it takes place in a time where, you know, not much is expected of women. Like the princess had so many thoughts and ideas, and she came up with all of these revelations and everything. But because she was the princess, nobody wanted to listen to her. And the princess sister ended up listening to her because she thought, oh my God, she's right. And then that's how this relationship grows, essentially. So I'm really excited to reread A Fires and Stars, and I will also be annotating this book. The next book on my May TBR is another Owl Crate book, and oh my goodness. So this book has a special place in my heart because this was my very first Owl Crate book ever. I remember when I subscribed to Owl Crate, this was my very first book. I absolutely loved that box. I still have the So this book will always hold a special place in my heart, and I am very glad that this was my very first Owl Crate book because I fell in love with this book. I think I finished it over Thanksgiving break because I've been a teacher for 5 years. So the book is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. Oh my goodness, and then stunning. I have seen the original cover for this book, and I just love this cover so much better. I understand because the white background is black, and I completely understand, you know, the background because this book is about, it's Alice in Wonderland retelling, and it is from the point of view of the Red Queen and how she became evil and how she became the Red Queen. And I know a lot of people don't like villain retellings or stories from the villain's point of view, which is why there's a lot of controversy behind the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but we'll get there. Because they're all like, yeah, we all know they weren't always evil. At one point they were good, and then something bad happens to them, and then that's why they became evil. Yes, that is true. That's exactly what happens in here. The very thing that I find extremely fascinating about these concepts are, where is that breaking point? At what point does that villain decide that they want to become evil, or they've had enough of being good and then they make the decision to become evil? It's very fascinating looking at it from a psychological point of view because when people make that statement, I personally think that they're making that statement because they're just looking at the surface. However, everybody has a different breaking point. You know, some people snap just like that, and other people try their hardest, you know, to not get to that point, and then it's like poking the bear with a stick. How many times do you poke the bear with the stick before the bear finally decides to bite you back? That's the point. That's the aspect that I like looking at it, is the psychological aspect of the villains and their stories. Where is their breaking point? How far can you poke that villain with the stick before they finally decide that they had enough? So I know that sounds really, I don't know if that sounds really deep or not, but that's like that. So that's how I look at it with these villain stories. So what point, like where was her breaking point? And this was just such a fun read. And I absolutely love this book, and this book is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm so glad that I took excellent care of it because it's still so pristine white. So yes, I'm really excited to reread this book and also annotate it as well. So we are now done with all the books that I'm going to be rereading this month. The only one that I talked about that wasn't a reread so far is A Vanishing Stare. So the next 5 books are going to be first time reads for me, and like I have stated before, one book is going to be a book that even though I'm reading it for the first time, I'm gonna annotate it because it's the 3rd book in a trilogy, and that book is The Toll by Neil Shusterman. So this book, you guys, I'm a little nervous to read this book. I loved the first 2 books in the series. I loved Scythe, I loved Thunderhead. Thunderhead left off on such a huge cliffhanger. I didn't see it coming, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why? How did this happen? What's going to happen next? So that's why I was very excited to read this book. However, I'm very nervous to read this book because I did hear a lot of people on BookTube stating that this book just did not live up to the first 2. They were essentially saying, so that's how it ends? One person was actually willing to give it like a 4 or 5 out of 5 stars because she thought there was going to be a 4th book, but then realized that there wasn't, so she dropped her rating back down to about a 3 out of 5 stars. So people were saying that it wasn't a bad book. However, people were saying that it definitely could have been cut down. So this is my monster-sized book for the month of May because it's over 600 pages. And they didn't like how the whole trilogy wrapped up. So I'm a little nervous. I'm going to be very honest. I have been dying to read this book since February, and I'm still dying to read this book because I want to know what everyone else knows. I'm like, so what happens? I'm just very, very nervous at how the story is going to end because that's, I think, a lot of people, where was I going with this? So a lot of people were saying that like this ending, it didn't wrap up the whole trilogy beautifully. Yes, The Toll. I really hope it doesn't disappoint me, and I will be annotating it. The next book on my May TBR, and I am actually very excited to read this book because this book is the 2nd book, I believe, in a trilogy. There's a 3rd one coming out. When? I have no idea, but I'm finally reading the 2nd book, which is Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha, I can't, I'm not even going to. So this is the 2nd book in the Girls of Paper and Fire series. So I'm gonna talk about the 1st book. So Girls of Paper and Fire is a book about a girl named Lay, and she's the main character, and she has these beautiful, as you can see on here, these beautiful like golden eyes, and it's very rare because she's 100% human. There's 3 classes of races in here, and she's the lowest class. She's a paper girl, and since she's 100% paper girl, it's very, very weird for her to have like these eyes because there's just no mutation. So because of her golden eyes, she gets kidnapped and then she gets sent away to the king's castle to be the 9th paper girl for the king, and essentially she becomes the king's concubine. So I will say this, that book definitely comes with a sexual assault trigger warning. The scene took me by surprise. That I was like, whoa. I still gave that book 5 out of 5 stars, but I don't want to like get into it. But yes, that book definitely comes with a sexual assault trigger warning, so please be careful of that. But I'm very excited to read the 2nd book, and this book is, look at how gorgeous it is. It's super gorgeous. And then there's the 3rd book, and I think the theme of the 3rd book, like the background, is purple, and purple is my favorite color. So I'm very excited to finally read this book because I think I bought it in February, and it's been sitting on my TBR shelf for the longest time. So yes, I'm super excited. The next book on my March May TBR, I need to eat something. The next book on my May TBR is an Owlcrate book. So I think I got this one in either November or December. I want to say December because it sounds like a winter book. And actually it is called Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw. This is a beautiful cover. I think the original cover of this book is black, like the background is black, so I do like the white color. I think it makes it like pop and stand out, and it has blue sprayed edges, you know, because it's Owlcrate. And then it did come, I completely forgot this was in here, with a gorgeous metal bookmark. So I heard some people talk about it and they thought this book was average. So who knows what I think. I may agree with them, I may not agree with them. I honestly don't know what this book is about because I don't know if this is a standalone or if this is, I'm assuming this is either a standalone or the first book in a series, because why would Owlcrate do that? Why would they put the second or third book in a trilogy or a series in an Owlcrate box? So I don't know too much about this. I just heard some people's opinions saying that it was average, it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. So we shall see. Still a pretty book though. The next book on my May TBR is a book that I actually found at not a bookstore, it's like a college bookstore, that's what it was. I was browsing the bookstore and they had like a giant section full of just discounted books. And so I bought a few that caught my attention, and I am finally jumping on the Laini Taylor bandwagon, and I am reading The Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I was gonna say Bones. Daughter of Smoke and Bone. So I know a lot of people on BookTube have read this trilogy, and I have had this book for almost 2 years, 2.5 years, and I'm so excited to finally read it. So I think this trilogy will definitely decide if I'm gonna get the Strange the Dreamer duology, because I don't know Laini Taylor's writing style, and these books were discounted. As you can clearly see, it was like $3.99 or $5.99 or something. So if I read this trilogy and decide that I like her writing style, then I will definitely get the Strange the Dreamer duology. So I'm super excited to finally hop on this bandwagon, because I feel as though I'm the only person who exists in the book world who hasn't read a Laini Taylor book. I hope I'm not the only one. Okay, so the next book on my May TBR, and it hasn't been released yet. It actually comes out May 19th, and I already pre-ordered it, and actually the book cover is the background on my phone, and I am so excited. It is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. So I stated at the beginning of this video that I'm rereading the Hunger Games trilogy in order to prepare for that book for when it comes out. And the reason why I'm doing that, even though The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is a prequel to the Hunger Games, so this book follows President Snow and his journey as a mentor for District 12's tribute in the 10th annual Hunger Games. And even though, like I said, this is a prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy, it is very interesting and fascinating to see how the Hunger Games has evolved from the 10th annual Hunger Games to the 74th, when Katniss participates in it. I'm reading the Hunger Games trilogy right now, the first one, and it's very interesting to hear Katniss reference previous Hunger Games, like, oh, this is a rule now because this happened in the past. This is a rule now because this happened in the past. I will talk more about that in my Hunger Games reading vlog, so be on the lookout for that, because that's coming up this week, probably on Thursday. But it's just very fascinating to see the evolution of such a revolutionary historic event. I know this is a fake world and it's a dystopian, but I mean, a lot of differences happened between the 10th annual Hunger Games and the 74th. That's a 64-year difference. So yeah, and then seeing President Snow as a mentor for the District 12 tribute. That should be interesting to see. Okay, the last book on my May TBR, and this book is an Owlcrate book, so this is the Owlcrate edition, and I'm on the fence about reading this book because I've heard some mixed reviews about it. And the book is The Guinevere Deception by Kirsten White. So this is the beautiful green background cover edition of this book, like the Alcrate edition. I think the original color of it was blue. I mean, this is beautiful, but green is not my favorite color. I think I would have liked the blue one better. I'm not gonna buy the blue one though. So if I'm not mistaken, I think this is a Monte Carlo retelling or something, and then the main character is a female now or something. It's a Monte Carlo retelling. I've never read Monte Carlo, so I don't know. I have nothing to reference when reading this book. But I did hear a lot of people say that it was okay, it was average. A lot of people, I think, gave it like a 3 out of 5-star rating or something like that. And I don't know if it's a standalone. Who knows? But the book is gorgeous. But I don't know if I will actually, you know, enjoy. Who knows? You could be surprised. Okay guys, so those are the 13 books that I am going to be reading during the month of May. I'm so excited because about half of these books are going to be rereads, and I'm going to enjoy rereading them. Please be on the lookout for all of my vlogs. I'm going to have like a little list of the vlogs that I plan to film during the month of May. Maybe because this is a long list of books that I would love to read, I think I will do a mid-May wrap-up of, like, once I have read 5 or 6 books, I'll do a mid-May wrap-up and then do another wrap-up of the last 5 or 6 books, you know, towards the end of the month, so that way, because this TBR video is already 40 minutes long, and doing a wrap-up for 13 books in one video is going to be about an hour and a half. So I think I will split those two up, so be on the lookout for that as well. Okay guys, that was a lot. I did a lot of talking. I have a lot of editing to do because it is Monday, April 27th, and I would love to get this up by Tuesday, April 28th. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.